Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features X-Force number 29, cover dated December 1993. The cover is by Anthony S. Daniel and ink by John Holdredge. It features very prominently there Shatterstar, but look who's back in the background. It is Arcade, and so we have the cover caption Arcade, Shatterstar, Murder World, plus an extremely exciting surprise guest appearance. And we'll see who that is within the comic itself. I want to comment on the very 90s redesign of Arcade there, in particular those glasses he's wearing. He reminds me a little bit of the character Sully from the 1987 Arnold Schwarzenegger movie Commando for some reason. And for some reason indeed, Arcade was a favourite character of Chris Claremont's. He consistently brought him back, but he hasn't been seen in the X-Books for quite some time. Not really a character I ever found terribly interesting. He's sort of one note with Murder World. But in any case, one other thing to detail or to note here is the detail that Shatterstar is back in his original costume. So why is that? And who is this figure in silhouette that he's facing off against? So let's open this one up to the splash page. And the title of the story is Toy Soldiers. Creative team down here, Fabian Nicieza writer, Matt Broome on guest pencils, Bud LaRosa on guest inks, Chris Eliopoulos on letters, and Marie Javins on colours. So it's Arcade here who's looking at a bank of TV screens, and he is has been spying on Shatterstar. And so we have various images of Shatterstar across the 9 screens, but the most bizarre one is the one in the middle, where we're getting quite an unexpected view of Shatterstar there. So if you pay attention to that, you'll see exactly what I mean. And of course, Arcade is in standard villain fare, monologuing and talking about Shatterstar, an extra-dimensional visitor from a world where life consists solely of fighting for survival and the entertainment of the masses. Yes, he will be a fun one to play with, all right. Sigh, rather, I guess. He'll be fun, but oh, so predictable. And you know what? Arcade, you're the one who is oh so predictable. So let's continue with the 22 pages of story and art. Turn the page there. And we see that he's also spying on, he's continuing to spy on Shatterstar, but Richter is with Shatterstar there. And what is happening is that, let's see, what is happening here? Oh yes, Arcade is talking to his assistant, Miss Locke, and they're talking about going to Arizona. And he says to her, because that's where Shatterstar is, give me audio, would you please? He and the team's seismic mover and shaker are engrossed in conversation and love to eavesdrop. So Richter's driving off. Shatterstar says, I've been negligent in properly assimilating myself to your culture, because Shatterstar turned up out of the blue in the Danger Room in New Mutants number 99. And we don't know too much about him, so Fabian Nicieza is going to spend a couple of issues teaching us more or revealing more about Shatterstar, about his background, about his character, because he's yet another one of these mysterious X-characters that were so common, in particular in the late 80s and early 90s. So we're going to learn a little bit more about him in the course of this issue and the next. And Richter says to him, well, I'll be done picking up the supplies we need around 6 o'clock. So there's a little bit of banter there about telling the time, because that was one of the things that Cable ribbed Shatterstar about in X-Force number 1. But he's improved, he's learned lessons. So Richter says here, see you later and be careful, okay? I mean, we're all nervous enough as it is letting you out alone after everything that's happened. So Shatterstar checks the time. And then I think the idea might be that he is pulled to one side with his ponytail indicating that movement. It's a little bit unclear in the artwork because Matt Broome at this time is around 20 years old. and he is very much learning his craft and learning it right in front of everyone on a big selling book like X-Force. So there are a few pages where the storytelling is not super clear, and I think this is one of those. So Arcade, we get a big reveal of him here with the redesign, with the very 90s glasses he's wearing. And he says here that he's been out of circulation among the super tight set for so long that he was starting to worry maybe they'd all forgotten that another name for murder is Arcade. So Shatterstar is his target. And he says here, there's Miss Locke, his assistant. He says, Ms. Locke, be a dear and get today's other lucky participant into makeup and wardrobe, would you? And since I'm paying you scads of money just for being so darn cute, contact our clients and tell them we have both their rockets on the launch pad. All systems are go. So we'll see who the other participant is on the very last page of the story, of course. So here we have, so Shatterstar is still out and about, and he is in front of this family here. But look at the garbage truck in the background. That is how Arcade abducts the victims for the game in Murder World. And so he's talking here to the children. Then Arcade pushes a button, retrieval unit, Hazel, time to pick up the trash. So that will be Shatterstar, and as it will turn out, the family too. And this is an interesting transition device here, from visual transition from Matt Broome, where we go from one hand pressing a button to another, except this second hand is cannonballs. So he's talking to the Cable's AI sentient computer, the professor, and he asks him, could you prep the iPack for dust off? And so the professor says, de nada, don't tell me you and Richter been playing video games again. From time to time, says the professor. Well, will wonders never cease. Could you also please contact Boomer and tell her she darn sure better be ready. So Cannonball and Boom Boom are going to Kentucky to visit Cannonball's mother. And so this is a really nice page by Matt Broome, in fairness to him. And I think Bud LaRosa is doing nice work on the inks. See that kind of wooden texture there on the steps up out of the base. See the work he's doing here on the drapery of Boom Boom's jeans, and also the shine effects on her sunglasses as well. Yeah, that's nice work from the inker. And this is a nice top-down shot of Boom Boom, or Boomer, she's going by at the moment. So there's a bit of banter between her and Cannonball. He asks her, how much did you pack, girl? And she says, well, how was I supposed to know what to wear in Kentucky, for crying out loud? Might as well be bringing me to Asgard. I mean, there, at least I know what to pack. So Sam says to her, it's just my mama and family. It ain't like it's that big a deal. You just be yourself. They'll all love you. Well, except maybe you should tuck your shirt in and don't crack your gum so much. And maybe don't wear your sunglasses inside like you always do. So Boom Boom there says, just my mama and family. Shoot me now. Put me out of my misery. Okay, so young people, banter. Let's turn the page, keep going. So they're walking out to the iPack, and then Cable arrives to tell them that the ship's ready. It's all fueled up. And he says to Sam, he says, or rather Sam says, you want to fly us there, Cable? Can't. Too much to do here. I set the autopilot return already. Let me give you a hand with that. So he helps Sam with his bag. Sam says, thanks, boss. Boomer's packing. You need bionic strength just to lift it. So more banter there. And we get a recap of what's been going on recently for X-Force. It's been all go. And Cannonball gives that recap. We formed X-Force. I kind of died. I came back to life. You died. We got arrested. I ran the team. You came back. Ileana died. We fought Magneto. The Mutant Liberation Front came back, and my old teammate Danny Moonstar, maybe one of them, my best friend Bobby, disappeared fighting him. And we ain't found hide nor hair of him since, so we don't even know if he's still alive. And well, here we are. So Cable says, I guess you do need a vacation at that. So nice shot of the iPack there. That's a bit of work on that vehicle by Matt Broome deserves some praise. Similarly here, this page too, a lot of work going into this page. So we have a more serious conversation between Cable and Cannonball, where Cable says to Cannonball, Sam, you've gone through a lot. Ileana was a friend and a teammate. Her loss will always hurt. And about Roberto, I just want you to know, we're not going to stop looking for him. And Sam says, but it's a needle in a haystack, sir. I know that. When he was teleported away with Locust during our fight with the MLF, which was the previous issue, they could have gone just about near anywhere, from other dimensions to outer space. I just know in my gut that he's still alive though. So if you find out anything, don't hesitate to call. I'll see you in a few weeks. So Cable smiles, have a safe trip. Off they go. Now, who else is at the base? We're told in the third person narration that Cable looks around but sees no one about. Odd for their Camp Verde, Arizona bunker headquarters to feel so empty. Rick and Shatterstar are off looking for supplies. Sunspot is missing. Feral defected to the MLF, that was in the previous issue. Sam and Boom are on vacation. Warpath and Siren in one of the bunkers. Not much of a rebel fighting force to choose from anymore. He wonders, and not for the first time, if he should ask her to join them. She did help them against the MLF, but she seems so unsure of where her commitments lie. So this is tempo. So she betrayed her teammates of the MLF in the previous issue. She's now with X-Force, but she's not a member of them. And so Cable says to her, have you made any decisions yet? You could try taking your costume off for a change, you know. I'm sure Siren and Boomer wouldn't mind if you borrowed some of their... But she interrupts him. Oh, and what's next? We have a slumber party, watch Beavis and Butthead. Cable makes a joke. She says, it's not funny. I don't have a life anymore. None of you do either. Don't you ever ask yourselves why you choose to live this way? So off she flies, and Cable says quietly, only every day, girl, only every day. So this is a transition period for X-Force. All of the story momentum from the Rob Liefeld days and from Executioner's Song and the return of Magneto is all done and dusted. So what is the purpose of this paramilitary force of mutants, young mutants, under Cable's leadership today? What is it going to be? So that's what's happening here in this transition period. And Siren is there, and she is drinking in order to numb the pain of the loss of Sunspot. She's 3 beers into a 6-pack, 3 to go, and she tosses the empty beer bottle on the floor, which hits Warpath's foot, and he says to her, exactly what good is it doing watching the vid scans of our fight with the MLF? No matter how drunk you get, Terry, the outcome doesn't change. We lost Bobby, and there's nothing you or any of us could have done to prevent that. So she is engaging in self-recrimination. If I hadn't have been tagged by that Moonstar witch, maybe what? Teresa asks. Warpath, turn the page. You were unconscious when it happened. You tried your best. What more can you ask of yourself? Why do you put so much pressure on yourself? Why do you punish yourself? Why do you care? And she replies, why do you care? And he says, admitting his feelings, because I like you a lot. That's why. And it looks like he knocks the beer out of her hand. That's all nice and fine, and fine, Jimmy, she says, but it's a dumb thing to be doing. Why is that, he asks. Because you can't like someone who hates themselves as much as I hate myself. So she lets rip with one of those sonic screams, blows out the telly screens, and she storms out of the base. And Cable meets her as she's emerging from the base. And he makes a joke, should I call Rick on the car phone and tell him to add a few monitor screens to a shopping list? And she simply says, yup, as she marches past him. And Cable says to Warpath, the advice I gave you, James, in regards to confronting Teresa about her drinking and telling her how you really feel about her was bad advice. Warpath interrupts. No, it wasn't, James, says Cable. It was just tough advice for a tough problem. So this is interesting characterization from Nicieza, like exploring a serious issue like Siren disappearing into the booze instead of facing her emotions and her feelings about feeling responsible for the loss of Sunspot, and also being reluctant to acknowledge the fact that Warpath has romantic feelings for her as well. Later, Cable enters the base and he gets on the line to the Professor. Raise comlink Alpha 1. So that's a priority number on the comm system. The signal's going through now. So who's it he's calling? Well, he's calling Domino, the real Domino. And Cable says, she says to him, "You're making a bad habit of this, I know, but I need you, Domino." "Okay, Nate, I understand after everything you just went through. How could I say no? I'm in LA now. I'll be there in a few hours." So, maybe Cable is going to figure out what to do with the team in the future by bringing Domino back in, though Domino's never been a member of X-Force because it was a shapeshifter who was in her place from the very beginning. And then we switch to kind of what is our main story as promised from the cover. And Shatterstar wakes up in Murder World and he's facing the barrel of a gun, but he knocks it out of the hand of the person pointing it at him. It spins around and he grabs it, and then he sees that he's on camera. And it is Arcade who's talking to him. "I amuse you, you stare death in the eye and laugh." "No, usually I smirk," he says back. "Who are you? Where am I? What do you want with me?" And Arcade replies, "Boy, are you a terse change of pace from the spandex types I'm used to. In order then, my name is Arcade. I'm one of the world's foremost and funderful assassins. You're in my brand spanking new traveling edition of Murder World, coming soon to a city near you. As for why you are here, I've been hired to make you jump through hoops. My hoops." "And why should I do that?" asked Shatterstar. "Because you were born and bred to entertain the masses, right? Well, around here, I am the masses." So Shatterstar takes his shirt off and says, "The compensation I'm used to receiving for my performances includes survival assurances. Where there is life, there is hope to fight anew, and hope to fight for personal freedom. Do you give me any such assurances?" Let's turn the page and see what's Arcade's response. "Nah," he says, "'cause you're not really fighting for your own survival, kiddo. That'd be too easy. No, little mutant, you're fighting for the lives of this nice little family I picked up along with you." So we saw them earlier, and they're all tied up here, and then these guys emerge, and Shatterstar recognizes them from Mojo World, and they greet him here mockingly, greeting Shatterstar, dog kisser of the Cadra Alliance. So Shatterstar, as I said, recognizes them as soldier of Mojo's Imperial Protectorate. "Arcade, you've transported warriors from my homeworld to do battle with me." And one of them says, "Our way to victory in this contest is not through your death, gladiator." So Shatterstar recognizes they're threatening the family. So this shows that he's not just concerned for himself. So he intervenes to save the girl there from that shot. But the storytelling goes awry here. You can see from the arrow that we're supposed to go from here to here to here, and then awkwardly back over here. So he undoes the manacles of the girl. She gets free. Those soldiers are still attacking Shatterstar. They catch him with these flechettes in the arm, and then he uses them against the soldiers themselves. "It's showtime," he says as he throws 3 of them at them. So let's continue. So the kind of, it looks like he slides between the legs of one of them. He says, "The crowd's always found my style unique. It made me a star." And then from behind the soldier, it looks like he cuts the back of his neck. "And since I imagine you'll be kept busy enough trying to reattach your neck to your shoulders, I hope you don't mind if I borrow your blaster, the better with which to down channel your arena mates into static crackle." So he starts blasting away at them when he comes out from the cover there. And what does he do? He jumps up on this gangway above them and jumps down, firing at both of them. The show is over, Mojo kissing airwave riders. So not too bad Fight choreography is pretty decent there on those couple of pages by Matt Broome. And so there's an explosion. There, Shatterstar jumps away from it. Gets a little confusing here. This Mojo soldier grabs the two children to use as hostages against Shatterstar. I grow very weary of being placed in these morally compromising situations, he says. For the benefit of your continued capacity to breathe, dog boy, release the innocents. So the mother pleads for the lives of her children. Shatterstar shoots and makes a headshot there. So that's the end of that soldier. So the family's saved. The father hears a little bit annoyed. He says, "That was an awfully big risk you took with the lives of my children." Shatterstar replies, "Had I lowered my weapon, they'd be dead." And Arcade intervenes. Now cut that out, you two. Leave well enough alone before I put you through it all over again. The Brady Bunch is free to go. "And what of me, Arcade?" asks Shatterstar. Arcade replies, Shatterstar says through the comms, "I've succeeded in your twisted game. What is to prevent me from leaving as well?" And so Arcade says it, well, look at it. Two things are going to keep you from going. So let's turn the page. So up comes his original costume, the one he was wearing when he popped up in New Mutants number 99. Arcade tells him to put it on. The family leave and they offer to call the police. And Shatterstar himself says, as he gets undressed and into his original costume, "By the time the constabulary is informed, I'm sure Arcade will be long gone. Fear not, I'll be fine. This is, after all, what I was born and bred to do." So Arcade says, "Exactly, which is why I want you to face the next round of fun in a costume more befitting of your origins." He says, "You'll understand why these clothes are more appropriate when I show reason numero uno as to why you'll want to stay and play a while longer." So Shatterstar says, "I'm waiting. Allow me to show you who hired me to have you assassinated." And so here there's confusion, or rather not full conveying of information in the art, because what we're supposed to see is a holographic image of Major Domo, but we don't see anything. And so we get it all explained to us, what we were supposed to have seen in Fabian Nicieza's dialogue for Shatterstar. Major Domo, holographic image. Domo is the master programmer responsible for running the oppressive rule of Mojo 5 on my homeworld. He's safe, no doubt, from any opportunity I might have to exact revenge on him for this, isn't he? Very safe. Seems you worry him still, though. You have been in exile for so long. He's afraid you may come back to threaten his comfy little position of power. Shatterstar replies to that, saying he's good reason to be afraid, but I sense there's more. And now we're at the last page. So here is the surprise new character. We get a big anchor image for this new character, but one known to Shatterstar. And Arcade continues with that big grin on his face. "You see, someone else hired me to test out another of your peers. So me, economically minded guy that I am, figured let's kill two birds with one stone. From what I understand, you even know the young man. A man who is fighting for the same things you are, a cause to believe in, the truth about himself, a place in this world. Unfortunately, he's going to have to fight you in order to get any of those things, fight you to the death." So you can see he has got these blades here that he throws at Shatterstar. Shatterstar dodges away from them, and this new character says, "Greetings, Shatterstar. Your dog soldiers were nothing mutant. Now you face extreme." And a very 90s design here, but also has me wondering whether Fabian Nicieza has created this character to be a lampoon, a parody of what was being created over at Rob Liefeld's Extreme Studios at Image Comics. Because is this design meant to be serious? It looks like, as I said, a parody. Especially this chin beard that this new character is sporting as well. Very 90s, but just verging on the comical to my eye. So there we go. X-Force number 29. Next up is going to be a story entitled Battleground. The letters page concerns issue 25, which happened to be Greg Capullo's last issue on the title. The title has kind of lost something in terms of an artistic and aesthetic coherence since Greg Capullo leaving to go do some work for Todd McFarlane at Image on Spawn. And it needs a consistent aesthetic, needs an artist, and unfortunately at this time, around 1993, late 93, a lot of the talented artists had left Marvel to go across to Image, where they were getting checks that would be very tempting at the time. This is all in advance of the comics collector bubble bursting at the end of 93, early 94. So there was a lot of money sloshing around at Image Comics, and especially at Extreme Studios. Rob Liefeld paying his artists very well, and maybe twice as much as what they'd earn at Marvel. So you just had Marvel kind of casting about for talent to come on board and do the books like X-Force, and they were forced to hire artists who hadn't fully cut their teeth. So, for example, Tony S. Daniel, 16 years old, coming on board doing X-Force. Matt Broome, around the age of 20, doing X-Force. Just about able to tell the story, but with some imprecisions, like I pointed out in this particular issue. So it'll take another couple of years, and then what starts happening in the mid to late 90s, when comic sales are going down and when the money's drying up somewhat at Image, many of these younger artists, having done their training and being mentored at Image at the different studios, whether it's Extreme, Wildstorm or Top Cow, come over to Marvel and start working on the X-Books and other comics in the late 90s. But at this time, Marvel casting about in order to get these books out, and compromising somewhat on the standards that had been in place in the 1980s and up to the early 90s. Well, there you go. I do hope that you enjoyed my review and commentary on X-Force number 29. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comments section. If you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like and share the video. It really does help the channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.